Всем привет! Сегодня у нас очень необычный гость. Знакомьтесь, это Алекс Гилберт. В 1994 году маленький мальчик Саша в возрасте 2 лет был усыновлен парой из Новой Зеландии, Марк и Дженнис Гилберт.
Что вы скажете прежде всего?
Ну, я не знаю. Ну, что-то типа такого. Господи, это она. Я думаю, что это она. Это точно она.
Какие ощущения у тебя в этот раз, когда ты со второго дубля вступаешь на родную землю? Мама здесь случается. Алекс Гилберт сегодня гость нашей студии со второго дубля. Папа Алекса Михаил ничего не знал. Алекс Гилберт прилетела вместе с Алексом из Новой Зеландии.
Почему он так сделал? Я знал, я был ребенком, где до меня все.
Схватив первую попавшуюся игрушку, он принялся играть с малышом. Почти так же, как 23 года назад с ним играли Марк и Дженнис Гилберты. Почти там же.
И несмотря на жизнь в Новой Зеландии, с тех пор он не утратил интереса к русским корням и посещает Россию время от времени. Давайте сегодня узнаем, что он думает про Россию, про Новую Зеландию, ну и в целом пообщаемся с довольно интересным человеком. Hey Alex.
Hey, how's it going?
All good.
It's good.
So I'll briefly explain to my viewers that
Yeah, of
this interview will be in English, but we put subtitles for you so you can switch it on and watch it properly. So Alex,
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Alex, you're already quite well known in Russian community and in New Zealand because of this story, how you was adopted and
Yes.
Came to New Zealand. And when did you get this idea in the very first place?
Oh man, where do I begin? Well, I came here when I was 2 years old, and I was born in Arkhangельsk in Russia in 1992. Came here when I was 2 years old in 1994, and I was raised with my mum and dad, who also adopted my brother as well. We're both from the same
time?
orphanage. At the same time.
Yeah.
So I was raised in a small town called Whangarei, which is just further north of Auckland, and I was, had my childhood there, had everything there, and then I moved to Auckland only eight years ago. So to me, I've always known about my adoption, and I've always had an interest in Russia, always been interested in the country, in the history, and where I come from. So it's never crossed my mind that it's been something that I haven't been interested in, because it's something that I've always wanted to do, and essentially find my birth parents as well. So it's always something I've been interested in.
Yeah. But how did you do this technically? I mean, how did you find them?
I used social media in Russia. I used classmates and VKontakte. I used both of those, and I've got the only information I have on my birth parents are their names on paper, and so there's no photos, no birth dates, just names. And my birth mother had a very specific name, very long, unique name. So I was able to find some information about her first, but nothing about my birth father on the documents. I then later, after I tracked down my birth mother, I then later found out my birth father didn't know anything about me, and the name on my document was all incorrect. It was made up by my birth mother because she never told my birth father. So I found a community on Classmates, OK.ru.
Yeah.
I went on there, and I found a group that knew of my birth mother. So that's when I tracked her down. She doesn't use the internet, nothing like that, but a friend knew of my birth mother. So someone went to her house 6 years ago, and this is what happened like 6 years ago. Went to her house, knocked on the door, and said, "I believe you have a son." And she denied everything. She's first of all, she said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." Closed the door. The next day, she went back again and said, "Here's some photos of your son in New Zealand. Are you sure this is not your son?" And she said, "Yes, this is my son." Okay, what's going on? Can you explain? Because she didn't know what I looked like. And we then called her a couple of weeks after that, and then everything just went from there. And that's when I knew that I had to go to Russia to meet her, and I had to make that big step now to actually go and meet my birth parents, which is what I did at the end of 2013.
Yeah. I believe it was quite a big surprise for her.
It was a crazy surprise. When I called her for the first time, it was her birthday. I called her up. It was would have been 10 in the morning her time. I called her and her husband was there, and she said, come to Russia. She lives in Rybinsk, and I'd never heard of this place. I didn't know anything about it.
Even me.
even a lot of people didn't know about it. I remember I told people, felt like the whole trip was a trip to Rybinsk and back to New Zealand. It didn't feel like I felt like I missed everything out in St. Petersburg or Moscow, because we were always talking about Rybinsk. But Tatiana, my birth mother, she said, come to Rybinsk, come and meet me, come and see my family, come and learn about my life. So I said, okay, we'll do that. But I realized that I didn't have a Russian passport, a valid one, to do that. So I had to renew my Russian passport. And that took, 5 months. And then I eventually was able to go on a plane and go and meet both my birth parents. And my birth father's in St. Petersburg and she's in Rybinsk. So they live both separate lives.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I just didn't expect that. Especially being born in Archangельsk.
Yeah.
You think that they'll be there, but they're not.
Yeah. But what about your New Zealand parents? What did they think about it?
They completely supportive, always been open and honest, and always said, we want you to meet your birth parents, please meet them. And they've always been honest about that for me and my brother. Always wanted us to go and do that. And so when I told them I found my birth mother and then I found my birth father, my mum and dad said, this is insane, this is crazy, this is incredible for us. So I told my mum and dad, and they said, when you find someone, first of all, it began with asking them if I should find my birth parents, and they said, yes, you should. And they supported me. They're open and honest. They said, search for them. We'd love you to search for them. And that's what I did. And when I found them, they were very over the moon. They were excited. They couldn't believe everything. And they said, you should go as soon as possible and go to Russia. And they didn't tell me anything what to expect or what Russia was like. I just knew I had to go and take that trip for myself to understand where I come from. So that's what I did.
You're very lucky, I must say. And
yes.
It was really wise.
I agree. I mean, I don't know what people ask me often, what would you choose? Your mum and dad in New Zealand, to be raised by them, or would you choose to be raised by your birth parents? Now, I can't answer that question because I don't know what difference it would be. If I was raised in Russia, I wouldn't know any different. I wouldn't know anything about New Zealand. And then people ask me that quite often. But if I had to choose, from my lifestyle, from what I've seen, I'd prefer to live and be raised here.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was raised. This is my life. This is my parents and my family. And then if I was raised in Russia, I would probably say the same about Russia, depending where I was. I wouldn't know any different. So it's a common question that people ask me. It's a bit of a strange question because you can't answer.
I didn't have it in my list though.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. But what did you feel the very first time when you met your birth mother?
When I went, so we drove from Moscow to Rybinsk. It was 6 hours, and we got to her apartment, and she was waiting outside the apartment. And it's got to be the most nervous I've ever felt in my life. And that whole 24 hours was very nerve-wracking for me. I only had arrived in the country, the night before. And so the next morning we got up at 5 a.m, drove to 6 hours to go and see her.
Yeah, all the jet lag and...
All the jet lag, all the emotions, everything was kind of building up. And then she was there outside her apartment, and I said, hello, is that her? And she was standing out there, and I walked over to her.
Здорово.
Как дела-то, как жизнь?
Good. How are you? How are you? Got some.
вас дела?
Ничего, нормально.
She was standing there and she didn't show any emotion when I met her. And, she just gave me a hug, and we just pretty much walked into her apartment, had a look inside, and then she was starting to open up a little bit. I was very nervous, so we were both it was a very awkward, I have to admit, it was a very awkward meetup in the beginning. Nobody was crying, nobody was emotional, nobody was saying, oh my God, I finally met you.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that. It was a little hug and just straight to the point. How are you? How are you going? How's work? How's life? And she started opening up by the end, but meeting her would have been was a crazy experience. I only saw her for a few hours, and then we had to drive back to Moscow. So it was a very quick meeting. It was to her apartment, to a cafe to ask some questions, and then back to the car, and then we had to drive back.
How about your father? So you told me
Misha.
that he lives in another city.
So I got in touch with my birth father after my birth mother, and he didn't know I existed, and he was asking questions. He thought it was all a big joke. He thought someone was playing, a scam or something like that. So which was fine. I understand him. I completely understand how he would feel. This is a bit random, a person saying that you're, the son. And so I got in touch with him and I Skyped him for a few times and we talked about our lives, and he got very emotional, very happy. He was very excited. He said, come to St. Petersburg, come and meet my family. Your grandma's there, my wife's there. You've got a half sister, she's waiting to see you as well. And so then what we did is we took the trip. After meeting my birth mother, the next day I went to go to St. Petersburg to meet my birth father. And that was completely different to meeting my birth mother. He picked me up. He was so excited. He was smiling, asking questions after questions. It was one of the greatest days of his life, I think, and it was one of the best days of my life too. And it was just, I don't know what it was. Maybe we just bonded very quick. We had that connection, and to this day we still talk. And I've seen him so many times now, and we have a really good relationship. And it's crazy. It's crazy to think how far that's gone. But meeting him was definitely, it was completely different emotions than my birth mother. But they're both good, but I had a lot more excitement meeting my birth father.
Yeah, people are different.
People are different, yeah.
Привет. Hello.
Потом когда ты научишься русский язык, подрастет потом, лет через 5.
Архангельском.
So how many times you already been in Russia?
Since 2013, 5.
5 times.
5 times, yeah.
And you have both passports, New Zealand and
I have
Russia?
New Zealand and Russian passports. So every time I go into Russia, every time I have to line up with the Russians, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a Russian, so I have to line up with the Russians. And a lot of them look at me really funny now because I look so confused and lost. And when I go up to the entrance or the customs, they ask me questions all in Russian. They go, what do they ask me? They say, "Здравствуйте, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
Как дела? Okay. And they ask me how I'm here. They said, business, leisure, how long are you here for? And I say, я не говорю по-русски. Извини. And they go, oh, okay. I said, моя семья в Новой Зеландии. And they go, okay. Yeah, хорошо, yeah, and then walk along. And I have to always explain that. And because they speak English as well. I think in that job you gotta speak English, but they just laugh every time I get into Russia. And so, because my passport's an international Russian passport, and it says in the passport that I'm a foreigner living abroad. I don't know why it's just how they do it. And so I have to show them now. I always show them my New Zealand passport as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really. I enjoy going to Russia. I do enjoy it, and it's something that the country is really fascinating. There's so much more for me to see.
Which cities do you already visit?
I visited Moscow 3 times, St. Petersburg about 3 times as well, Rybinsk twice, and Arkhangelsk twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a good look around Archangels. That was amazing, seeing where I was born, not the exact hospital, but seeing the town and walking around where the water is and just seeing and going to the orphanage. That was something I've always wanted to do, and I was happy that I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which place did you like the most, and did you have any unexpected surprises, or what's your general expression?
I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no. Tell
but-
honestly. My
that's it.
viewers know everything. They live most of them live in Russia, so
Right.
they know everything.
Здравствуйте is Новой Зеландии. Look, I love St. Petersburg. It's got to be one of the most incredible cities I've ever been to.
That's right. To me too.
It's just a beautiful city. And I love Moscow, and I've been on the metro. I've had a good look around Moscow. Moscow's beautiful as well. But my top city would have to be St. Petersburg. And regarding small towns, I can't say Rybinsk is on that list of top places. It's interesting to go and experience a town like that. It's not my place to go on a vacation for. But it's where my birth mother lives, so if I'll go there, I'll go there. And I'm only there very quick every time I go to Rybinsk. I've never stayed in Rybinsk. We actually took a 12-hour train ride from St. Petersburg to Rybinsk overnight. And then you got the bunkers, and you lie down and sleep, and the next morning we were in Rybinsk. Only in Rybinsk for about 3 hours, and then we trained back. So it was just my choice. I want to try out the train, and that was pretty crazy. And seeing the countryside of Russia is something that was really fascinating. And just seeing out the window, I've never seen anything like that. Completely different. And the people were really nice in the towns. I find that people in St. Petersburg, they're smiley, they talk to you, they ask you questions. I'm with my birth father all the time, so people come and talk and they ask us questions about what are we doing in St. Peter, or like friends of ours. They ask us, how you going? It's great. And then in Moscow, I've got a lot of friends in Moscow as well. And sometimes when I do meet people in Moscow, they don't smile, and I have to try and make them smile or make them laugh. And I make them laugh, and they try not to, but it happens. I try to crack it, shuka, jokes all the time, but they just, it's funny.
Yeah, people are quite interesting in Russia. They are really different to what we have here in New Zealand.
Completely different, yeah.
What about the environment, especially small cities? Not only small, but big cities. How do you find them?
In Russia?
Yeah.
I like the small cities because it's a real authentic Russia. It's the real Russia. It's the outback. It's like a small city in New Zealand. Auckland's the big super city. When you go to the small cities, it's kind of like that. You get to experience it. There is no English at all in the small cities, and which is good for me because then it helps me practice and learn my Russian because I'm able to read the language, but I just need to get my vocabulary up. So that's what I'm always trying to do. Every time I go to Russia, I can start to put together sentences. If I stayed long, I would be able to probably speak a little bit of Russian properly. But that's what's good about going to small cities. If you're in a big city, you're always going to have people there speaking English that can help if you need it. Not all the time, but you have people there. But it's hard to explain. It's just they're both good, but I know you can do a lot more in a big city than a small city, like any country.
Yeah.
Any country. But it's always very interesting to see the culture in the small cities. It really is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And you also visited quite an interesting Russian TV show called "Пусть говорят."
Yes.
How did you get there?
Well, what happened was it it's 2015. My birth father gave me a contact to reach out to the TV show. And I think it was just on the website, and we just wrote in, and he just gave me a link to the website and said you should contact this show. And I didn't know anything about this show, I didn't know who the guy was, and so I reached out to them, shared them my story, and I think it was three days after that they said, can you come to Russia in a week? We want to bring your family over, we want everybody there. And that was crazy. I said, okay. I said, are you crazy? You want us to go in next Wednesday? And they said, yeah, we want you to go. We'll go on the plane, come to Moscow, come on the TV show. And so we all got to the TV show. We got on the plane, and I got to meet him beforehand and have a chat. And he was like, oh, you were that Russian guy, you were that adopted boy from New Zealand. I said, yeah. And we did the show. The show was filmed. We filmed the show for maybe 1 hour, and then that was it. And then we just walked out. My birth mother didn't stay with us. She actually drove back to Rybinsk. Don't know why. She just said, I want to go back. She was with her boyfriend. She doesn't have a husband anymore, but she's with a boyfriend now. They said, we're going to drive back to Rybinsk, and that's what they did. So I never saw her after the show. We gave her some gifts and some flowers, and she said thank you, and then she walked away. But my birth father stayed with us, and we went all through Red Square and had a dinner, and it was great. So we had a good chat and a good catch up, and my parents got to see him and talk to him outside of the TV show and just ask him questions about his life, and that was pretty incredible to see that. See my dad talk to my birth father is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's like the weirdest experience because he would ask him, well, what was he like as a child? And he was the one that, essentially could have raised me. So he was asking questions like that, and it was weird, but it was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it. It was a very quick show. It was good.
Yeah. Well, honestly speaking, I had to watch this show just because of you, because I was preparing for this interview.
Yes.
And usually I don't watch
it's a bit of drama.
This show. Yeah. Too much drama. This is what I wanted to ask actually. I noticed when I watched this TV show that people were quite aggressive to her birth mother.
Yes.
They were like blaming her and blah blah blah. So, to my opinion, she had her own reasons.
She had her own reasons.
It's tough. It's tough choice, and it's there could be different opinions on that. But how did you feel about that? How did you feel about the audience?
Алекс Гилберт сегодня гость нашей студии со второго дубля. Так называется наша программа. Алекс, ваша мама здесь, встречайте.
Как дела там?
Хорошо. Хорошо, почему тогда вы не сообщили Михаилу, что вы ждете ребенка?
Не хотела просто.
Не хотела ему говорить или
Да.
что?
А зачем?
Well, once the audience started asking, hard questions to her, asking her why did you leave him, how could you do this, you're such a bad mother and things, I felt very uncomfortable, of course. I didn't know what to do. Everything was happening very fast. I had someone translating in my ear, and I could hear all the words coming out, and the lady standing up yelling at her and stuff. And so I decided to go and sit. Well, since the beginning, I told her to sit by me, my birth mother. I said, "Can you sit by me so I make her feel a bit more comfortable?" And she would just look at me at times and just look at me. I could see in her eyes. She was wondering, "What am I doing? Why did I come here?" First of all, I didn't tell her to come on the show. They asked her, and that was it was completely her decision. She could have said no. She wanted to meet my mum and dad, and she's seen the show before, and at the end of it, she told me she didn't bother about it. I know it probably, like when I saw her last year, she said to me, "Doesn't matter, I got to meet your parents, I don't care about what people think." She's got that attitude, I don't care. But she did feel uncomfortable with people asking that, but then again, I would always explain and try and back her up and tell her that everything's okay. And understanding people that they need to understand and respect that. They shouldn't be quick to judge because you don't know what it was like before I was born. I don't know what it was like. I don't know put yourself in her shoes being so young. She probably just couldn't look after me, and that's the reality. So there's nothing you can do about that. So that's what I always tell her. I say, don't worry about what people think. It's just always people will be always there to judge. Always.
Yeah. People do judge.
Always,
quite a lot.
especially on TV, especially on Russian television.
Drama, as you
Drama.
said. Yeah.
They'd love the drama, and there'd always be something with a bit of drama.
Let's move out of drama.
Yeah.
So the most of my viewers would like to know about living in New Zealand, how this experience could be, what they could expect. And can you describe a little bit how was your life? How did you live when you was a small kid?
Yes.
Just a bit briefly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I grew up in a small town of Whangarei, and I had a great childhood, a beautiful country. I don't remember anything of Russia before New Zealand, but just as far as I know, we definitely live in a very beautiful country. Everything is so, easygoing here. Everyone is so nice. It's so easy I know a lot of people in Auckland that are from Russia, they've come here, and they say the transition is great. They love adjusting to this. They love meeting new people, and just the culture there's a big Russian community in all of New Zealand. I know this, and it's incredible to just have that out there for people who are coming here. And when I was growing up, we had a Russian community as well, like of other adopted kids who are from Russia, and we just all talked about Russia, but we all know that New Zealand is our home. This is where we live, and this is where we were raised, as well as having that background of Russia at the same time. So we're all proud of that side of us, as well as where we grew up, which is New Zealand. So it's always been it's been incredible here, always incredible here.
Yeah. So you believe the quality of life in New Zealand is quite high?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't even explain how high it is. It's a very good quality of life here.
But are you considering moving somewhere else, like Australia or somewhere else?
Australia. I visited Australia, but I went to London last year, and I like London a lot, and that would be, that could essentially be another option someday in life, someday later in life. But for now, it's Auckland at the moment. Everything here is for me, my job, my projects, all of that stuff is all here. One day, I'd like to go and travel more and see other places. I'll go back to Russia. If I was to go to Russia, I wouldn't live there permanently, but I'd like to go and learn about the culture and live there for, say, half a year or something, and just experience that myself. But at the end of the day, this is my home, and this is where my family is. This is everything here. So it's everything.
But at the same time, as you know, many Kiwis are moving to Australia, and
I realize that.
Not always the same amount of people is coming back.
Yeah.
Why do you think is that?
A lot of it is there's a lot of jobs in Australia, a lot more jobs. A lot of family members do tend to split in different, between New Zealand and Australia. Early days, they used to have a thing only about 5 years ago, I think, is where I could actually move to Australia and just work there as soon as possible. And I think it's changed now, but a lot of people, I don't know, I mean, I've been to Australia a few times and I do like Australia, don't get me wrong, I love Australia, but it's not really on my boat to go and move there anytime soon. But it's something, it's a interesting country, and it's very similar to New Zealand. Don't get me wrong, that is probably a reason why a lot of New Zealanders go there because there's more opportunities there maybe. I don't know, maybe they've got job offers there and they don't have them here, or the companies are in both countries. So that would be my own logical explanation to why, maybe. But
yeah. Well, also what I wanted to ask, quite a few people in Russia, they don't really appreciate immigration itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't respect it.
Yeah.
They think it's against patriotism. But I wanted to know what Kiwis think about it. What Kiwis think about other Kiwis moving to other countries.
yes, what I think
Is it even different? What you think and what others think, your general understanding?
about if I moved to a different country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel a bit guilty if I was to move to a different country. I would feel guilty because my family's here, and my friends are here, my job, all of that is all here, and I would feel guilty, but at the same time I want to go and experience something. If I was to move somewhere, and maybe I want a better quality of life somewhere else, and it's probably not New Zealand, take New Zealand out of the picture, but if somebody's from a country that's not so how do I say this in a nice way? If someone is from a country that isn't doing so well, or they're struggling, or something with their family, or is having some problems, or their life is a little bit difficult, there's always other ways that you could look at, other opportunities for people, other better quality of life for people, and depending on what standards you're after. For me, if I was to go to Australia, for example, it's close, so my family wouldn't feel so bad. But if I was to go to the UK, it's another whole story. They wouldn't feel bad, but they want me to go and travel and see places. They would like me to go and live somewhere else and experience that. I think a lot of people at the end of the day go and do it for the experience, and if you get so comfortable here and you love it here, live here and stay here and just enjoy it. Always know that you can always go back to where you're from. Always. It's always open in arms, always to go back. So I always support people traveling. I don't say you need to leave. I don't tell people they need to stay on this soil and stay in their country. I reckon traveling and living in other places and experiencing that is one of the best things you could do.
Yeah. And I think quite a lot of Kiwis actually, after they lived for 10, 20 years somewhere else, UK, Australia, US, they're coming back to New Zealand
I know a
eventually.
lot of people that come back and actually just settle back here.
Yeah.
And they might have a family over in the UK, bring the whole family back here. It happens quite often. But I'm talking maybe like 5, 10, something like that. They'll come back here and they'll just stay in Auckland because it's so comfortable here. That's the thing, it's so comfortable and you've got everything here. And when you come here and you have nothing here, the thing is, I find people that have travelled overseas and come here, they've been able to adjust and get everything organised as quick as possible. And everything is able to be worked out easy than a lot of other countries. I believe that. I know a lot of people that have travelled from different countries, from Russia, have come here, they've got got their car driving sorted, they've got everything sorted, they've got a house renting or buying. It's very easy to start organising that. And I feel like, I don't know what it's like in other countries. I find sometimes it is complicating in other countries, but in New Zealand, I think they try to make it a little bit easier for people from all over the world.
Honestly speaking, I never heard from people from other countries other than Russia so much complaining and blaming, immigrants.
Really?
Yeah, it's really popular in Russia, like, you gave up and blah, 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 you ran away. For rest of the people, obviously we work now with plenty of people, from the rest of the world. And they're all coming here for experience at least.
Of course.
Some of them are coming for good, some of them are not, but it's really easy going and it's really understandable for the rest of the people in the country to go somewhere else. And I think for Kiwis it's the same.
Well, one thing I don't agree with people in Russia saying, oh, you're leaving your country, you shouldn't do that, you're betraying our country. But at the end of the day, you only got one life to live, you go and experience it and go and see other countries. There's so much more in the world to see. Russia's huge, yes, I agree, biggest country in the world, but there's so many other countries. New Zealand's so small, and that's what makes us unique, and we're so far away from everything else. So I have met people inside Russia that have a great, they have a great lifestyle there, everything's fine, and they always say to me, I'd love to go and visit New Zealand and maybe live there for a few years just to experience it. And if they like it so much, they can live here. It's completely everybody's choice. If you don't like it, you can go back. You can always go back home. You can also go to another country, experience it. I know a lot of Russians that have moved to America, and they live in America now, and then they go and visit Russia every couple of months, or not couple of months, every 6 months or something like that. It's just everyone's way of life, depending on what you would like to do.
Yeah.
So I've met people that have said to me they're looking at changing their lifestyle and moving to another country. Not because they got nothing against Russia, never. They love Russia, they love where they come from, but they want to find some better opportunities for themselves. And I say, do what you like and go and experience it. If it's out there, go for it. So my mum and dad, both of them pretty much retired now. They're in their 60s, but they both worked. My mum worked in healthcare for like 20 years or so, and my dad worked in insurance company up north. So they've been doing that since their 30s. They travelled overseas. They lived in the UK for like 10 something years. Then they came here to New Zealand. They're all both from New Zealand, and it's just me and my brother. So just a small family. And my brother lives in Wellington, lives in the capital, and he does work with the government down there. So he's been doing that for the last couple of years or so. He enjoys it. Wellington's another nice city, a lot smaller than Auckland, but it's a beautiful city, Wellington. Yeah.
And your brother was also adopted?
He was also adopted, different birth parents, but he hasn't been back to Russia yet.
Yeah. Didn't he try to find
I found his family for him about a year ago, but due to a situation with his family, a family member of his over in Russia, we had to put that on hold for now. I mean, everyone makes last minute decisions sometimes, and it happens, so I don't blame anybody for that. We just have to wait. When the time's right, the time will be right.
Okay,
So,
I understand.
yeah,
I understand.
so-
And what do you do for a living now?
I work in TV, so I'm a content producer now for TV, so I've been doing that almost 8 years. Actually, no, sorry, I lie. I've done content producing for the last 3 years, and before that I was doing camera work and editing. Before that I started small. I went to film school, came to Auckland to do film school. I wanted to be a cameraman, and so I studied film for 1 year in the North Shore, and then I got straight into television straight after that. So I've been working in TV since then.
Cool.
I do enjoy it, it's fun. I don't watch TV. We have a TV show.
Maybe there is a reason.
There's a reason we have a TV
because you make this
I
TV.
get nervous watching it. We have a TV show that started on one of the channels here nationwide, and I had to watch it on Saturday. I watched it, but I was nervous. My heart was beating the whole time because I was camera and editor for it, and I just don't like watching TV. Nothing against TV. I love TV. I love working in TV. But going home, you get a bit over it.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly fine. Yeah.
But comparing Russian TV, because you already been at the show.
I like Russian.
And,
I don't mind Russian TV.
Yeah. But which one is better, New Zealand or Russian?
I prefer New Zealand TV because I understand it more.
Yeah.
Russian TV there's a lot of weird TV shows on there, but you gotta love it. People watch it, and I don't disagree with it. It makes the money, makes the ratings. It's fine. A lot more viewership over there.
Yeah.
Millions more. Here it's only a couple million watch TV. It's not that many. So it's in some ways it's
Smaller budgets.
smaller budgets, and over there it's huge budgets, and you can have any crazy show on Russian TV. I've realized this. Any crazy show on Russian TV, doesn't matter. A few million will watch it. So, but you guys have so many TV shows anyway.
Yeah.
TV channels, sorry.
True.
Yeah.
That's why I don't watch TV as well.
It's
Too many of them.
Yeah. Well, my favorite TV channel would have to be in Russia. I was going to say TNT. TNT is okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of reality drama.
Yeah. I have some friends actually working on TNT. I will pass them your expression.
Don't put this in the interview. I don't mind TNT.
It's okay.
No, I like
don't
TNT.
worry. Do you learn Russian?
Yes. Duh. Yes, I've been learning Russian, but it's very difficult here. I just don't have I should spend more time on it. It's my fault. I should be learning more Russian. But I've been able to pick it up a lot more. I go to a language group here in Auckland, Russian language exchange, and I go to it every couple of weeks. So I meet a lot of other people that want to learn Russian, and then some people there just to talk, just want to meet friends. But I go there to try and practice my Russian, and we sit down and we talk, and they ask me a few questions in Russian, and you know, it's just a matter of practice and learning. So I mean, I can read a few messages I get sent to me, and I can work them out a little bit, but I have to translate most of them. So it's really quite. I live with a Russian as well, so it makes things, like, I got 3 flatmates, so it makes things a little bit easier for me. And then I don't know, I just gotta learn it more. I'd love to learn it more. When I'm in Russia, it's the best way for me to learn because it's all around me.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to read all the signs and pick up on words and ask questions in Russian, you know, and for that it's just more practice. I just need to do more practice with it.
And how close you are to Russian community here?
Well, I went to Russian Day on Saturday, and I met a lot of people that I do know in the Russian community. So I do know a lot of people personally in the Russian community, and yeah, I do know a lot of people, and it's great to see the community and see it grow, and just learn about people's stories about coming here from Russia and coming to New Zealand. So that's fascinating every time, just hearing the different stories about people saying, I've come from this part of Russia, I've come from this part. And then, well, one thing when I went to Russian Day, a few people asked me, they came up to me, I was with a friend that spoke Russian, and they said to me in English, they said, you look very Russian. You know, they never met me before. You don't speak Russian, but I have to say, you look very Russian, and then I have to explain to them. Oh, okay, I understand. That makes more sense now.
Another question I wanted to discuss. Have you heard about the Russian law, which limits the rights of US citizens? Actually, it just cancels the rights of US citizens to adopt Russian children.
They closed that 2008, I think, and it's closed between New Zealand and Russia. New Zealand and Russia as well. So it's been
closed now.
It's been closed here for the last 5 years. I've spoken in the Russian government. I spoke with a lady that works with Putin, so I spoke with the children's rights lady there 3 years ago, and I have contact with her, but she can't do anything at this stage between New Zealand and Russia. And I've been to the government here as well, but there's just this whole between America and Russia. I don't know the full story. I don't know. I know it's called. I think it's Demas law. I think it's called. Demas law. Yeah. And I've read a little bit about it, and I know it's very heartbreaking for the families that have been trying to adopt children from Russia that haven't been able to, and it's very sad to see that happen, because I've seen the orphanages in Russia, and yes, there's families inside Russia that can adopt children, and there's great organizations, and I've met a few people that run the organizations in Moscow that help people adopt children, and they're doing a good job. But then also there's a lot of people that want to adopt children from Russia from overseas, and that's stopped it completely. And I don't know when they'll look at it again. I don't know about the American side. The New Zealand side, they definitely probably won't look at it anytime soon, because I kept on trying to push it, talking to them, and they just won't bring up this subject. They completely they don't talk about it. They keep it quiet.
Why did it happen with New Zealand? Because I heard about US.
Yeah, so with New Zealand, they closed it off 5 years ago. So what happened is Russia had an agreement, and they gave it to the New Zealand government and said, yes, you can adopt children from Russia. Russia had the rules, had all the regulations, but New Zealand said, no, we don't agree with your agreement, because Russia said you can adopt children from Russia. Yes, Kiwis can, but they said you can't adopt the children to single mothers or single parents or gay couples. And so Russia said, no, we're not going to allow this. And so New Zealand said, okay, fine, we won't talk about it. I've asked many times for the government to just bring it out to light and think of options. I reckon at the end of the day, New Zealand needs to understand Russia's rules and respect their rules. They're different countries. They're not the same country. Completely, you have to go with the rules to make it fair.
Yeah.
Other people like single mothers, single parents, gay couples, I have nothing against them. They can adopt from other countries.
Yeah.
There's always that opportunity, but they completely close it off. And I don't think that's fair. And also, yes, maybe it's not fair for them not giving the chance for other people to adopt. I know you've got to be equal and fair, and there's a lot of political correctness, all of this. It's always going to come to light. There's always going to be people being negative, positive. It's always going to happen. It's something I have to, not put up with, the same that I have to understand. So that's been closed off for the last 5 years, and I've written letters, everything, and they won't do anything. So it's just the way it is. And the Russian government, they told me that they support New Zealand. They love what they're doing with the relation side of political side, but they said it's not up to them. They've done what they've done. They've made their agreement. New Zealand won't agree with it. So
Sounds really sad, and I really hope that New Zealand government will reconsider this, or
I hope so.
Well, I don't believe that Russian government would reconsider any of their conditions.
I don't, you have to go with both sides. You have to agree with Russia's rules, and New Zealand has rules and laws. You got to grow with those rules. You can't just close it off for everybody because New Zealand's having a tantrum about it, having complaining. It's just the way. That's one thing that bothers me a little bit about the government side of New Zealand. No matter what, I don't know. It's fine. You just have to understand that it's the way they work, and there's nothing much we can do.
So
about it.
they either choose the equal rights or none for everyone.
Or nothing. So it has to be fair. I understand their side, New Zealand's side, have to be fair to everybody. That's a big thing in this country, and I don't disrespect that. But at the end of the day, this has been closed off for 5 years, and if you're not going to even look at it or even talk about it or reconsider anything, it's kind of offensive, That's kind of.
At least you need to negotiate.
Yeah, just need to at least have a look at it.
Yeah.
They just avoid that. So I don't know. It's something that we try to talk about and push, but it's going to be slow days before anything happens.
Yeah.
So maybe.
I really hope that so many orphans we have in Russia,
Yeah.
one day they eventually find their places. Doesn't matter where it's gonna be, any country.
Doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of people in Russia who grew up in Russia, they have great childhoods too. It's nothing to do with where you're raised. It's just the fact that there's no option there for overseas people to adopt Russian children.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people inside Russia have said to me, why would you take a child out of their motherland? Why would you take a Russian child out of there? And it's not about that. I never say it's about that. They're still going to have Russian background, Russian blood. It's just if these parents here are wanting to adopt a child from Russia, then your family becomes a New Zealand Russian family. You got this. That's like our family. We got a New Zealand Russian family. We're not a New Zealand family. We're background. We got me and my brother both from Russia, so we have this whole Russian side. And my parents have all Russian things in our house, and everything is all, Kiwi and Russian. So we're proud of that.
Yeah.
It's something that people just don't understand, but.
And the world should be open. It's already open. I mean,
it should be.
Yeah, it should be.
That's what I think, and I think the option should just be. It should be there for people. And
you mentioned your own project. It's something regarding other adopted children. Can you tell a bit more about it?
I created a project called I'm Adopted, which I set up in 2015, and it's available in Spanish and Russian. So it helps people share stories around the world who are adopted, and it's helped people find their families, birth families, and it's adopted people's choice if they want to search for the birth families. It's just a community.
Yeah.
People go on there, they might want to ask for advice, they might have already met their birth parents, they might want to just ask some questions to other adopted people. So I created that about 4 years ago now, and it's helped a lot of people talk to other adopted people, mostly from Russia, I have to say. A lot of people adopted from Russia from the 90s have reached out to me through that, and they've shared their story trying to find birth parents, or just asking, for example, they would ask, how do we go and revisit Russia? I've only got an American passport, or something like that. So it's all these questions, and people in the community would reach out to other people and say, look, you can do this, you can look at this option. If you have a USSR passport, this is where you should go. So it's just an open community for people like me who are adopted from various countries. And it's always interesting because I would have liked to use this platform when I found my birth parents. I would have gone on there and said, look, I'm trying to find so-and-so, can you help me out? And then people just reach out to you. So that's why I want to create it, to help people find birth families. And it's helped a lot. It's helped hundreds of people. So I'm quite proud of that, and it's something I'll keep going with it. And I do talks around the country around here, like meetups and like speeches and things, to bring adopted parents along and for them to sit down, bring their child along and just talk, ask us questions. Like, there's a lot of hard questions being asked all the time, saying, when should my child search for their birth families? If we want to support them, when should they search? And a lot of the children, some of these parents have children that are 10 years old maybe, and they're too young to search for birth parents. I know it's too young. You got to wait till they're older, but a lot of these kids, they're always very excited. They hear about Russia or hear about where they come from, I don't know, other countries, and they want to ask their parents, I want to find my birth parents. And then these parents go, my child's panicking, he's asking me every day, I want to find. And then I just say to them, look, just sit down, talk about it, and just let them know that they should wait until they're older, because you never know what you're going to expect. You might see a harsh reality of your birth parents, something that might not be so positive, and it can affect you as a child. And so there's just questions like that being asked in the community, and it does take time for everybody. Everyone has their own time. When everyone's ready, if they want to search for birth families, they can reach out to the community and do that. If they just want some advice, or even if they want to go and revisit where they come from, go and see the country, see Russia, or go and see where they were born, that's what it's all about. Because a lot of people that are adopted from Russia into New Zealand, there's over 700 Russians adopted from Russia into New Zealand in the 1990s. And so I know a lot of them as well. A lot of them haven't been back to Russia. They don't know anything about Russia.
Yeah.
They always ask questions. They go, I don't have a passport. What do I do? And it's a big process. And so we kind of we help out with advice and facilitate them with links, and just let them know that there's always contacts that you can reach out to and make things a bit faster. So that's what I'm Adopted is all about. It's a very useful platform for people who are adopted. Yeah, definitely.
This is great. Definitely, we're gonna put a link below the video.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Go and check it out.
Thank you so much for this interview. I think
okay.
it's going to be really interesting for lots of our viewers.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
No problem. It's good to sit down and talk. I mean, I could talk for a long time. I'm trying not to talk too long.
Cool.
Yeah.
Дорогие зрители, спасибо большое, что досмотрели это видео до конца. Напишите, пожалуйста, в комментариях, что вы думаете по поводу усыновления русских ребятишек иностранными гражданами. И на этом мы с вами прощаемся. Всем до связи. Пока-пока.
Пока-пока. До свидания.